everybody. Thanks for watching. So yeah, I know a lot of people have been asking me questions about, what's happening over there in Burkina Faso, everything that's going on with Ibrahim Traore, and what's happening with that whole movement right now. So, it's been so many African leaders. I follow Africa closely. I have a lot of friends over there in Africa, a lot of friends who actually help me out with a lot of things, technology-wise, coding-wise, or what have you. I have friends in Sierra Leone. I talked about these people a lot. But my eyes is always in Africa. I'm always watching what's going on because I understand what Africa is and what it means to the powers that be. And if we understood it, and I've talked about this before, if we understood what we had there and what was going on, it would be a different story. There is no way that Africa should not be the global superpower. Plain and simple. We are talking about an infinite resource of natural resources. The gold is there, the oil is there, the cobalt, everything we need to power our smartphones and everything. Everything is in Africa, always been there. And we had the understanding of this long ago. So you have to think about it, and to go back just a little bit, you got to remember and I get into slavery and everything and what happened, how we know, we was already in the Americas, but also that before the takeover, before the Europeans conquered, that there were African kingdoms. And Africa was, of course, the largest trading continent on the planet. Everybody traded with Africa. Everybody came into Africa, into these kingdoms. The ruins are still there to this day. They don't talk about it. I've shown you guys all this stuff before, all the ruins, all the kingdoms, and what have you. So we already had this knowledge of what was in Africa. The people who didn't was the indigenous, primitive living people. Of course, we were indigenous as well when we were there, but the people who were living a spiritual life away from the understanding of trade or what have you, who were sitting on mountains and tons of gold without any real use for it other than to make, spiritual items with or what have you. So those people didn't really understand. The tribal people didn't understand. The people who were still living permanently didn't really get it. So one of the moves that they made, one of the reasons why they had to get us out of Africa and out of these kingdoms was because we had that knowledge. We understood the minerals. We understood trade. We understood what was going on. And that's one of the reasons why the kingdoms and the people who lived in the kingdoms were enslaved and brought over to Europe and Americas to be enslaved because of that knowledge, right? So understand that. So you get the, infiltration of religion into African nations. And you get them to basically use, centuries old tribal warfare against the people, where they will arm one tribe against another tribe that's set on resources and have that tribe basically, slaughter the other tribe so that the Europeans can get in there and get the resources or what have you. Now, understanding that in the minds of these people who have not been outside of Africa, they have no concept of this white man, black man whole situation that the Europeans have created in America, to where, you have white people up here and black people down there, because of course, in their mind, they understand the truth. They know they've been here first. They know that the Europeans came and traded with them and that the Europeans came there to get stuff from the Africans. So in their mind, they looking at it as, well, you guys know who we are. You guys see us as being up here, but that's not the case. So, and them making deals and trading with the Europeans, what have you, we lost a lot, right? So one of the things that you see in Africa that I talked about before, one of the reasons why I didn't move there, been to Africa a few times, but people always ask me, you end up, getting citizenship in Sweden, why not in Africa? And that's what brings me to this video and this whole situation with Ibrahim Traore, right? Because one of the things that I've looked at and I've seen and heard about is the, immense corruption over there, man. It's so crazy. The corruption is vast. It's in every major African country that is producing anything, and it's widespread. It's a problem. It is the major problem over in Africa right now today, when you understand, because things would have been a lot better had the leadership been better, and the leadership has sold out. So I expressed, my whole thoughts about what happened to Patrice Lumumba. We know what happened with Gaddafi. And you guys got to understand, with Ibrahim Traore being in this position, he's in a very good position right now. And the only thing you can hope for is that it's real, that it's true. So usually when the Western world, try to stage a coup, they get it, especially in Africa. So for him, and we're talking about, last month, they tried to kill this guy. And, they've been trying to kill him for years now. Now, here's the issue. So you guys seen the whole thing where, this black general doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And he's of course, a puppet. But they basically want to make it like, Ibrahim Traore is basically using the gold of Burkina Faso to basically fund his, military, to get weapons or what have you. So it's their way of putting it out to the Western world that this guy basically took over his government and he's using the resources of the people to not benefit the people, but to go and get weapons, right? Weapons that's going to kill people and hurt people. It's crazy. So how things usually go, because you guys see this a lot, and this is what they do. So you have basically countries in Africa, right? A lot of them are sovereign. You have a few that's sovereign, I should say, not many, but they have these deals with the Europeans, right? And it's just like, dude, if you're living in a diamond, gold, oil rich country, there's no infrastructure. What are you going to do with the stuff? It's just in the ground. What I'm saying to you is I'm going to come there with machines, equipment, men, or what have you. I'm going to create some infrastructure for this. I have the knowledge and the tools, so I'm going to use that to get these resources out of the ground. And it will benefit you if you allow me to do this. Because if there's no infrastructure, if there's no, system in place, first of all, one, you can't get the stuff out of the ground. You can't get it out the ground. Two, if you got it out of the ground, who are you going to sell it to? What are you going to do with it? You understand? It's the same. It will be the same as having a rock, if you understand. Even though we know it's gold, but how are you going to get it to people? One, you got to process it. So you got to build the processing plant. Us is just raw material, which is what we sell to them. It's the raw material from the ground. They process it and get the gold, what have you. And, if you're going to build a processing plant, that's money. That takes knowledge, just mining itself. So it's one of the reasons why they have to go and contract with these European countries and these businesses or what have you to get this stuff out of the ground. With this guy and what he's been doing and changing everything, kicking out a lot of the companies and then the contracts, basically trying to get things, working correctly for his people. So what the Western world does with France and, the Western world, America, what have you, what we do is we hire rebels, radicals, people to do the dirty work of the Western world, of France, of America, England, or what have you. And this is what we've been seeing over time, because these are the people that's going to come in and make things difficult for anybody that's not listening. We don't go to war, right? We only go and fight when the people who we hire to do shit don't do their fucking job. Then American soldiers come in there. And that's how it really happens when you really pay attention. A lot of these countries that we've been in, we have boots on the ground, is only because the person who they put in power didn't do their job or what they were supposed to do as far as destabilizing the country and keeping the people under wraps. Now, American soldiers have to come in there and take it over really from the person who be put in power. CIA stage coups happens a lot. So what they do and what they have going on effectively, especially in Africa, is these rebels. And you guys see these rebels all the time. They are so lost. They don't even understand what they're doing, but they are a benefit to the Western world to have these people to go out and execute and cause destabilization. So for instance, with France, and France basically being, you might as well say, the sponsor of Burkina Faso before, Paul Henry Demba, who was basically in power before Ibrahim Traore, right? That's who they ousted. He was basically, working for the French government. And, this coup that just happened, he's a part of that and he's part of that whole reason how they was able to get so close to Ibrahim Traore to almost, take his life. So if you follow the story in Ouagadougou, it was Saudi, basically. They went there and they was staged and it was ready to get the news that he was assassinated. They already had stuff set up, people waiting, and the morning came in and it never happened. because whatever happened, because we know, they had an intelligence team, which is smart on his part. At least they have that. And they intercepted some transmissions, some communications between, the people that was trying to kill him and the people that had boots on the ground. And they was able to basically stop the whole thing from happening, but it just gave him more insight into understanding what they need. Now, to go back to what I was originally trying to say, what happens is they hire these rebels, and these rebels go in and destabilize. So basically what they'll do is they'll make these deals with France or whatever country or what have you, and they will be working and mining and doing what they're supposed to do. If morale gets low or the people start to get out of hand or just for whatever reason, they will send the rebels in there. The rebels will come in there and kick ass. They will kill a couple people and then they'll leave or what have you. So what's supposed to happen is when rebels come in to any one of these sovereign nations that has corporations in there, producing or what have you, how it's supposed to go is because they don't really arm the good people, right? They arm the rebels. The good people get minimal guns, a little bit, not enough to fight off insurgents or rebels or radicals or what have you. So what they have to do is make a phone call. And they have to usually call, France or what have you. Hey, rebels are here or what have you. Something is going on. And then eventually help will come. And help will come and, fight them off or what have you. And a lot of times that'll just be some bullshit just to keep them on their toes or make them feel like, damn, if it wasn't for these people we're working for, if it wasn't for this nation we're working for, we would be dead. They came and saved us, right? None of these sovereign African countries has a military industrial complex that they run, right? That's the difference. So back in older videos when I was talking about this whole thing, I was saying to you guys, like, there is no infrastructure that we really control that's on par with who we would be fighting against. So after the repeated attempts on his life, what he realized, and it's what all these other African leaders realized, one, is that they need infrastructure. They need a military industrial complex where they are producing their own weapons and in control of their own weapons and have the capability to fight off insurgents and fight off, rebels and fight off these people that's coming in to attack them. Now, the good thing for Burkina Faso is in a good location. It's landlocked. It's nestled like right under and in between Mali and Niger, right? So it's in a good spot where you can see things coming and you can get some help if you really need it. And the thing that he has to, of course, worry about is that, his safety. And it's going to be so much, news if anything happens there or if anything happens to him. So, making sure you are able to protect yourself and the people is a big deal when you are doing something like that, trying to become sovereign and independent away from European control, right? So he's been using the gold to basically do that and dedicate, a good percentage of the gold to, basically creating a military industrial complex for that reason, those purposes. Now here's the thing, like I said, I don't like to get into all this because I understand the corruption in Africa and that if this dude is brought down, he's going to be brought down by an African, somebody black, right? Somebody's going to turn on him or trade on him or what have you. They've already tried to bribe people around them. I'm so glad it is what it is. But, I always look at things differently because, you just have to, because I understand the mindset of these people and how sick they is. And a lot of people probably, don't understand what exactly is going on and the reasons why. And in something like this, knowledge is power, man, because you can look at the world and look at it from a viewpoint of money, right? And I understand it's far deeper and sicker and sinister as far as the plans and goals of these people. But the thing is this, unfortunately, to do anything with that stuff, you have to align yourself with somebody that can help you out, especially when you don't have the infrastructure. And then you can't even be, trusting of your own people if you brought them in and who they're going to bring in, right? So, one of the reasons that made me make the video is because of this. So now this is nothing new because, Ibrahim Traore has already met with Putin many times before, going back to 2022, 2023. So he's met Putin before. If you're shocked by this, then you don't understand what's really going on over there. So the thing is, I mean, it's so much to get into with this. I mean, so much. And it's one of the reasons why you'll understand why I don't touch this stuff for reasons I'll explain. So now, first, you have to deal with Russia. And it's suspect, of course, because you have to understand, Russia's role in helping these three countries recently. And I'm talking about Mali, Niger, and of course, Burkina Faso. So it's not a coincidence that there has been a coup by the junta, or junta, however you want to pronounce it, by the junta to basically overthrow their leaders. So we just basically had the same thing in Niger, where they basically overthrew the president, and the junta leader, became president, promising to basically be president for a short term and returning power back to the people, which is the same MO that happens in Africa when there's a coup, a military coup. Somebody that's high ranking in the military usually takes over and promises to basically, without an election, rule the country for a certain amount of time until they can have an election. And at some point, they always end up getting elected anyway, right? That's how it usually goes down. Ibrahim Traore, still no election. He's running things. He changed a lot as far as government over there. But given the time frame from 2002 up to now, and the people and the support that's behind him, he must be doing what he's supposed to be doing for the people to be behind him. Two, with Putin, the deal is basically with a Russian company that's, already in Burkina Faso. They already been in there. Norgold is basically owned by a Russian oligarch and his wife, and they will basically be taking 85% of this project in Burkina Faso, right? So, I mean, just think about it. We're talking about the amount of gold that they're saying they're going to take out. And then when we read, they're basically saying that the people of Burkina Faso is only going to get like something like $90 million, something like that. When we talking about, at least a couple $1 billion they should be pulling out. It just don't make no sense. But you're giving up 85% of the people's gold to a Russian company run by an oligarch. And now you have to look at the whole thing. So if you're looking at it, you can say, well, is Russia basically trying to undercut France? I mean, that would be obvious, right? Because what's going on in the world, right, with NATO? So if you've been paying attention, right, so you have Sweden, you have Finland, and then now you have this whole deal with Sweden and Poland, I should say, coming together to help France, right? So right now, we're thinking that Sweden and Finland is going to try to enter NATO, which Russia has already threatened that if you guys enter NATO, it's a wrap. And we're talking about Russia is right next door. Remember, I lived in Sweden for years. Russia's right there, right? A lot of Russians in Sweden. They're super rude. Some of them are cool and funny as hell, though. But Russia's right there. It's going to be an issue. And now you have France, who's been, of course, an ally, U.S., and then now you have this whole, conflicting issue down in Africa where you have the French, gold mining company, Endeavor Mining, that's been there. And they've been there, but they've been under, Paul Henry, the last person who was running Burkina Faso before Ibrahim Traore took over. So Paul Henry basically was with France, as I talked about before. And so now where you have, Ibrahim Traore taking over and revoking the permits for France to be mining there. And then also you have, the junta in Niger, Burkina Faso soldiers in Niger basically keeping them from getting uranium. So they're in, Niger getting uranium, trying to get uranium. That's revoked. But like I said, they already had basically got rid of their president in Niger. And then now the junta took over. And then now you have the same situation in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, where you have a junta basically stage a coup or basically commit a coup, and now it's running the country. So can't be a coincidence. Can't be a coincidence that one, You had the former leaders of these countries having all ties to France. Then now they're basically outed, and then now everything is different. But now Russia is stepping in to offer more help to these people. So now this is nothing new, because you got to remember the war with Ukraine, when that was going on, there were still Russian soldiers in Burkina Faso. Remember, it was the whole news report where Russia withdrew about 100 of its soldiers from Burkina Faso to go help with the war in Ukraine, right? So you got to understand that. And then, as I said before, you got to understand, man, like if you're looking at this whole thing, whether you're on the fence or skeptical or whatnot, no matter how you slice it, again, we are not in power. They are. They have all the keys. They got all the doors guarded, everything. So if you want to choose to live outside of, being primitive, right? If you want to go ahead and use the resources that's, under the ground, then you're going to need help. You're going to need people. They don't have the type of status yet, Burkina Faso, to be on this global stage as far as trade. Yeah, you have gold, but so does everybody. Everybody got gold. And a lot of people are already selling, and it's about relationships. Why should I buy from you? What type of deal am I going to get? So now, the 85-15 deal to most people may seem like robbery, but in this case, it's like, it's beneficial because, one, what happened with Russia? Russia has gold sanctions on them, right? So they basically can't sell gold to the Western world. They need somebody else to get this gold from, or to have a different avenue to, sell gold. It's sanctions on their country. So, of course, they can impose sanctions on Burkina Faso as well, but that's unlikely to happen with no real reason, war-wise. But yeah, it's beneficial to Russia and the people that's running the Kremlin right now to go ahead and do all that. But you have to look at it, and it's like it's so much wrapped up in what's going on there that it's a huge question mark. That if I was, supposedly going over there to try to do some type of business with one of those countries, and I step back and I look at the picture and everything that's going on, I would back out. The only way I would stay and do business is if I was desperate. If this was my last hope and I was desperate, it was a life or death matter, and I needed this assistance and I knew I can get it from these places. Other than that, I would not do business with any of these countries. Not at all, because it's just too much. It's too many questions, too many question marks, too much shit to look at and scratch your head. So my whole thing is I look at a lot of stuff involving in all these nations. It's one of the reasons why I say they all in this together. It's just too much. Like, this can be very easy. What are we fighting about, really? We have all this wealth and money, and we can easily come together to do things beneficial for us all and our people. It's not what they want, right? Control for what? So I even look at the sanctions. Look at the fact that you have these gold sanctions on Russia where they can't sell to the Western world, right? Well, guess who's buying gold from Russia? The UAE, right? And the UAE is supposed to be friends with the US, which, as I always talk about, Bush and, the Saudi kings and them holding hands and kissing and hugging and all this and that. Supposed to be good allies with America. Why are you buying gold from our supposed enemy? Unless you're buying gold from them and then selling it to us. That's the way we can backdoor and get gold from Russia without it being official, without people knowing that we actually still doing business with Russia. You look at it that way. But it's just a lot, man, to look into. Everything is just so shady. And it's one of the reasons why I kind of stay away from the African stuff, because these people are sellouts on a monumental, huge scale. These people are so brainwashed. Because, again, think about it. Again, y'all gonna hate this white man, but I'm gonna tell you this. We got some good shit from them that we learned by watching their deception. Because we got this, unyielding, non-bullshitting way about us being black people. And it's like, people in Africa, they're just so trusting, right? It's just so much bullshit they accept. They can hate us all they want. We'll be like, fuck out of here. I'm not doing that. Like, you tripping. And it's like, dude, if we are the majority, we're the majority. This is chess, man. Play the game. We're the majority in this continent. There's no way these people should be running anything. And then we're looking at it, they're looking at it, I should say, and saying, well, if we don't do business with these European nations, how are we going to get money? Dude, the European nations are going to starve without you. You got to just play the game and freaking force their hand. They need you. They need Africa. And this is what the rulers are not understanding. They need Africa. So if you kick them all out, Change everything, unite and have it benefit the people. And they can say, well, then we're not going to give you guys any money. So what? We don't need nothing from none of you. We have everything in Africa. And then watch as everybody eventually is going to want to come back to Africa to get the resources from there. Plain and simple. I just think, there's no unity. People don't understand. They're easily bought. And that's the issue I have, with the whole thing. But you have to look at this deal. And the deal he just made, and here's another thing, because you got to look at it. So you have what's happening with America and Russia, what's going on with the war over there. This guy flies in, who America has already put on their radar as basically being a problem. So now you're doing deals with Russia to piss America off for whatever it is. To me, strategically, if I'm looking at it, it's like, now I'm going to force you to either help me or show your hand, right? Because now it's like, dude, I can't really protect this shit, right? I need help. So who better to get to help when you have America on your ass than Russia? And that's how it would look to him. But as I've been telling you guys for years, there is no America versus Russia. There's no America versus China. It's these leaders versus us, whether you believe it or not. But they still got to play the game, especially when all eyes are looking, right? So this dude is either super fucking smart or he has no clue. But what a move, right? To me, I was like, wow, because I get it. So to me, this is huge because you got to look at it, one, because now America can use this. We can use this and say this dude is an ally with Russia and, it's going to be a problem. But this is a deal, right? Basically a raw materials deal. It's a deal that he struck. So the thing is, one, to me, this is a strategic move. And this is giving them time to get shit together, still make money and produce money for them and their people, while they basically supposedly, or the thought is, have protection from Russia, right? From these corporations. Because now that there's a huge business interest in that place, then, nobody's coming in to attack for those reasons. So to keep America off your ass, you got Russia in there, because if America comes in there and does anything to Russia, it's going to cause a huge war, especially against oligarch. But you got to look at it and say, one, either this is a smart move or a horrible move, because if these people are indeed on the same side, like I've been saying, what's to stop them from backdooring you or from stabbing you in the back and, getting you out of here? Now, if that happens, then that window, that's a small window. It closes for them. And they're not going to be allowed to, they show their hand. And then that's the move, because now you're showing your hand. You do something like that, you show your hand, and you show everybody else that if we decide to do this, we can't rely on Russia and their people. So that's going to close the door on that. So you can either go in, make crazy billions of dollars, crazy amounts of money real quick, get out, and provide protection for the time that you do or what have you, and just let it be, right? The worry for the Western world is this: other countries will follow and begin to want to set up their own infrastructure and their own military industrial complex to basically protect them from them, right? From the Western world. And if that spreads, or if this move somehow unites other African countries together, it's going to be a problem. But the problem with that, again, would be we don't have a military industrial complex that we control. And even if, because you got to understand that, Western world is smart. They're bringing in these weapons. We're not going to give you a freaking munitions plant and let you, take it over once, y'all decide to stage a coup or what have you. So you can't always ship stuff in. So some of these countries have munitions plants. They're building weapons there. They're making weapons in a lot of these countries because they have that much of a stranglehold on their leadership and their people. But if these nations decide to run themselves and oust these people, they would take control of those factories that have control over producing those weapons. And then we'll see staged, fake ass attacks, which is what I'm expecting with this guy. Something to say, now all of a sudden we have, African terrorists, right? And, they call the people that's the rebels, what have you, they call them terrorists, but they're not terrorists against Americans, terrorists against their own people. But once you have Africans committing terrorism on American soil or giving the Western world a reason to go in there by force, then, things are going to be taken back. So I'm glad one of the things that they do is a camera everywhere all the time. Somebody's always recording, always reporting. That is smart. It's a good way to do it. But my thing is more, my issue is more of a, question mark, a worry of we'll see what's going to happen. But one of the things that sickens me to my stomach is when I see these photos, right? When I see these videos of these African leaders coming together to basically sell their people out. It's sickening, man. It's one of the things that piss me off the most, because everything we've been through. Like, see, one of the things is I argued with an African one time before that was in America, and we had this whole conversation about why Africans don't like African Americans, what that whole thing is about. And then, from people who I know that come from Africa that come over here, they have told me when they go through those little seminars and all that, preparing to come into America, a lot of the jargon is to not like African Americans. Like, we are basically spoiled, and we are basically, misusing our gift and what we have, the so-called American dream. And they don't understand what the fuck's going on here and where we at. And we dealing with these people. We are the minority here. We are the fucking minority. You people are the majority in your country, and you can't come together to keep the fucking white man out of here. That's crazy to me. So you talking about us, who we're surrounded by these people. They are the police. Our police, our military don't look like us. Your police, your military looks like you. And you guys can't come the fuck together to get this shit together, to decide that, hey, it's maybe not the best thing to work for these Europeans. We need to come together and fix this shit. And y'all got a problem with us? And y'all the majority, and these people basically making more money and raping y'all out of your own resources? No, I'm not trying to hear that. It's one of the reasons why I talked about this before, is why they had to get rid of Garvey. See, Garvey understood all this shit. And Garvey wanted us with our knowledge, and it helped that we got a little injection of these white folks' ideology, for the most part. Because as far as looking at things on the material side of things, we understood, wealth. We understood production. We understood how to get things done. And having business-minded Black Americans go into Africa and tell these people what they're walking on and how to basically refine it, how to manufacture and produce and use what's in the ground to grow GDP and, get a military industrial complex, get protection, get advancements in medicine, and everything that we would need to grow infrastructure to become the superpower that Africa should fucking be. Plain and simple. There's no way, man. There's no way, if you understand what's going on, you can't see what's happening there. And the problem for them is so vast. You're talking about scared. Man, they won't let these people fucking have nothing major. But if you arm these people, if these Africans had weapons, if they had a military industrial complex and knowledge, right? It's over. It's a wrap. Now, you have absolute genius African people. Of course, we know they're actually working with Ibrahim Traore and coming up with the, all of the intelligence that they're going to need to do what they're trying to do. It's out there. We have Africans that's inventing and creating some amazing things over there. And for the most part, it's being controlled by the Europeans. But you have a lot that is not, and it's because of funding reasons. But when you have a mineral, a gold-rich country like Burkina Faso, you can do a lot. And 15% of what they're producing over there is going to go a long way, and especially over the time that they need it to. And it's just making sure you got the next person ready to step up and that they're building something with the people. Because that's the main thing. The people is it. It's the people. And you have to have the people full of hope and ready to push the movement. And now you're seeing it from everywhere. All kinds of people, different countries in Africa is reporting on this man, right? So yeah, when we look at all these beautiful cities in Africa, Joburg and Benin, and it's a lot of beautiful cities in Africa, right on the beach, right on the coastline, a lot of beautiful places. They don't own it. Their infrastructure was not created by the African people, may have been built in some capacity by Africans, labor, by Africans or what have you, but it's not owned by the people. It's not really benefiting the people. It's a beautiful city that a lot of them can't even afford to live in, right? It's built for other people, companies, corporations, what have you, and rich people to come in there. And it looks good in a lot of these places. And yeah, you have other parts of Africa that is, developed, that you have Africans, rich Africans living there or what have you. But again, it's not benefiting the people as a whole or the continent as a whole. And that's the problem. So while you'll have some people content and happy with the way things are going, a united Africa is the only way forward. period, point blank. And what are they going to do to stop that? And that's the whole thing. And you just got to go and look at history and understand everything that's going on and the major role that Africa plays in it. I mean, you're talking about China with manufacturing and everything like that. China needs Africa. Everybody does. Everybody needs Africa. And you can't afford for things to go crazy over there or to lose control of the people as far as the Western world and people that's in control of this stuff, because they would lose crazy money. And having these nations, these countries come under their own, right? What's going to happen? I mean, it's not the end of the fucking world. You just got to do business normally that you would, the normal way you would do business. It's not a big fucking deal. You want to kill off billions of people, just so you can keep doing the same shit over and over again, spending money you'll never spend in a lifetime. It don't make sense. What is up with this? What is the point? It's a lot more to it, as I talk about. Because at the end of the day, these nations, these countries become independent. They're just going to be doing business. And for the most part, the countries that can do business with them, the owners of these companies are already multi-billionaires. They don't need no more fucking money, man. So that tells you this is about more than money. This is about control, right? Because going back to what I was originally talking about at the beginning of the video, if we maintain that control that we had before slavery and us being the number one producer of, minerals and materials, what have you, then we would be the superpower on the planet. Black folks, not them. But yeah, I can go on and on about this whole subject. But yeah, been paying attention, keeping up with the whole thing. This guy has to be careful. There's a lot more to this whole thing, a lot more going into it, and we're going to see a lot more. And I'll talk about it here and there, but it's a lot. But thanks for taking the time to watch. Make sure you guys take advantage of the Shopify, Amazon deal or what have you. Link is in the description. Also, the Join Scholar Society link is in the description. We will be back. Merkabah Scholar Society members back to the calendar soon. As soon as this app finishes, which it should be available tomorrow. Monday, Tuesday should be up and out by then. And we'll get back to normal, right? So we'll see you guys next video. Peace.